The character types as described by psychoanalyst Wilhelm Reich are some of the most basic personas that neurotics adopt as a sort of personal veil to ward off repressed drives and contribute to the binding of strong emotional affects in deeply personalized mental structures known as cathexes. The first character type we're going to look at is the hysterical character, as they're illustrated in Wilhelm Reich's literary magnum opus, Character Analysis. In our investigation of the various character types, we proceeded from the assumption that every character form, in terms of its basic function, represents an armoring against the stimuli of the outer world and the repressed inner drives. The external form of this armoring, however, is always historically determined. We also endeavor to cite a few conditions which determine different character types. Perhaps the most important of these, apart from the character of the person most responsible for the child's upbringing, is the stage of development in which the instinctual apparatus meets its most crucial frustration. Definite relations must always exist between the external appearance of the character, its inner mechanism, and the specific history of its origin. The hysterical character, as complicated as the pathological symptoms and reactions pertaining to it may often be, represents the simplest, most transparent type of character armor. If one disregards the differences existing within this type, if one condenses what is common to all of them, the most conspicuous characteristic of both male and female examples of this type is an importunate sexual attitude. This is combined with a specific kind of physical agility, exhibiting a distinct sexual nuance, which explains the fact that the connection between female hysteria and sexuality was recognized very early by psychoanalysis. Disguised or undisguised coquetry in gait, look, or speech betrays, especially in women, the hysterical character type. In the cases of men, besides softness and excessive politeness, a feminine facial expression and feminine bearing also appear. These characteristics appear with more or less distinct anxiousness that is manifested most strongly when the goal sought by the sexual behavior is close at hand. At such a time, the hysterical character will always shrink back or assume a passive, apprehensive attitude. There is a quantitative correlation between hysterical coquetry and the passivity which follows it. In the sexual appearance, however, there is another variation: overt displays of excitation in the act without corresponding gratification. Under analysis, these pseudo-passionate displays turn out to be the expression of a severe anxiety, which is overcome by activity. The facial expression and the gait of the hysterical character are never severe and heavy, as they are in the compulsive character, never arrogant and self-confident, as they are in the narcissistic character. The movements of the archetype have a kind of lilting quality about them. They're supple and sexually provocative. That the hysterical character is easily excited can be inferred from their appearance as a whole. The appearance of a compulsive character, on the other hand, suggests restraint. Whereas shyness and anxiousness paired with coquetry as well as physical agility are conspicuous in the behavioral expressions of the hysterical character, the additional specific hysterical character traits are concealed. Among these we find fickleness of reactions, a tendency to change one's attitudes unexpectedly and unintentionally, a strong suggestibility, which never appears alone but is coupled with a strong tendency to reactions of disappointment. A hysterical character, as opposed to a compulsive character, can be easily persuaded of the most improbable things. By the same token, he will readily give up his beliefs when others, just as easily acquired, replace them. Hence, an attitude of compliance is usually followed by its opposite: swift deprecation and groundless disparagement. The hysterical character's openness to suggestion accounts for his susceptibility to passive hypnosis on the one hand, and his propensity for fantastic ideas on the other hand. This is related to the exceptional capacity for sexual attachment of a childish nature. The vivid imagination can easily lead to pseudologia, that is, fantasized experiences are reproduced and grasped as if they were real. While it is true that many hysterical characteristics are expressed in the physical bearing, there is also a strong tendency to embody psychic conflicts in somatic symptoms. This is easily explained in terms of the libido structure. The hysterical character, as Ferenczi puts it, genitalizes everything. Elsewhere, we could call this the flooding of the genital with the pre-genital libido. As a result of the genital anxiety, which operates both as a fixation and as an inhibition of its own function, the hysterical character always suffers from severe sexual disturbance. At the same time, he is plagued by an acute stasis of unabsorbed genital libido. Hence, his sexual agility has to be as vehement as his tendency to anxiety reactions. In contrast to the compulsive character, the hysterical character is overladen with unabsorbed sexual tension. This leads us to the nature of his armoring. It is far less compact and stable than the armoring of a compulsive character, for instance. In the hysterical character, the armoring constitutes, in the simplest possible way, an anxious ego defense against the genital strivings. While it is certainly strange, it cannot be denied that in archetypes of the hysterical character, genital sexuality places itself at the service of its own defense. The more anxiety-ridden the attitude as a whole is, the more urgent the sexual manifestations will appear. Generally, the meaning of this function is as follows. The hysterical character has exceptionally strong and ungratified impulses that are inhibited by genital anxiety. Thus, he always feels himself at the mercy of dangers which correspond to his infantile fears. The original genital striving is used, as it were, to explore the source, magnitude, and proximity of the danger. For instance, if a hysterical woman displays strong sensuality, it would be wrong to assume that she is expressing genuine sexual willingness. Quite the contrary. On the first attempt to take advantage of this apparent willingness, one would find that, in cases of extreme hysteria, the overt expression would be immediately transformed into its opposite, that the sexual manifestations would be replaced by anxiety or defense in some other form, including precipitate flight. Thus, the sexual displays in the hysterical character are an attempt to find out whether dangers are present and where they might be coming from. This is also clearly demonstrated in the transference reaction in the analysis. The hysterical character never recognizes the meaning of his sexual behavior. He violently refuses to take cognizance of it and is shocked by such insinuations. One final characteristic must be stressed. The hysterical character exhibits little interest in sublimations and intellectual accomplishments, and reaction formations are much fewer than in other forms of neurotic character. This, too, ties in with the fact that in the hysterical character, the libido does not advance towards sexual gratification, which could reduce the hypersexuality, nor is sexual energy adequately bound. Rather, this energy is partially discharged in somatic innervations or partially transformed into fear or anxiety. Although the specific quality of genitality might be the reason for this process, the more likely explanation is the quantity of the libido used in the excitation of the genital zone. The genital apparatus, as opposed to all the other partial drives, is physiologically the most strongly equipped because it has the capacity for orgastic discharge, and in terms of libido economy, it is the most vital. Thus, we can assume that its impulses have a far greater similarity with hunger as far as inflexibility and tenacity are concerned than they have with impulses from other erogenous zones. This may well be a powerful blow to certain ethical concepts, but that cannot be helped. Indeed, the resistance to these findings can also be explained. Their recognition would have revolutionary consequences. Thus ends the reading on the hysterical character. I'll leave a link in the description below to the full PDF of Character Analysis, one of the great forgotten works of psychology in the 20th century. I hope you found this interesting or insightful, and if you want to see more content from me in the future, please subscribe.